Hi, I'm Mark, and I'm obsessed with Godzilla. And of course, if you're obsessed with something, you have to sculpt it. As you can see, I have a fun little thing I made all by myself with love and care and a lot of other stuff. But I'll show you how I made it. So first off, you have to start out with a base, which I used a piece of wood, and then I built up the structure with a bunch of wires. Just coiled that up till I had a very nice frame to build everything off of. Then I started creating the form with a lot of clay, and I just get the basic shape of the lizard dude. Yeah, makes sense. After that, you can start worrying about smaller details like the muscles. So I'll basically just get globs of clay, slap it on there, then build out the form a little better. And then once you do that, you can go crazy with the details and sculpt every little scale like the obsessed maniac you are. No judging. And then after that, you're basically done after a bunch of other steps in between. But here, watch the video. Okay, so just like I said a few seconds ago, I'm going to start out with a little wooden base. I think I got it from the dollar store or something. Any wooden base will do, but I just like this one the most. Then with some wire I found around, don't ask me where I got it. Just don't. And I use that to build up a frame, basically by just making a stick figure of Godzilla. And with that, because it's metal and all that, I don't have to worry about it melting in the oven. But I'll start building up the form, the basic silhouette, with a lot of aluminum foil, because who doesn't love aluminum foil? I've seen other people use aluminum foil and masking tape. I just use aluminum foil and glue sticks because that works best for me. I have a lot of glue sticks. Once that's done, I could add a very thin layer of sculpting over it. So what I'm going to do is grab globs of clay, run it through a little pasta machine, and make thin strips of it that I can slowly slap right onto that frame and bake it and cook it. So I have a very nice armature to work everything off of, and I don't have to worry about it snapping off or breaking apart while I'm poking it with a bunch of stuff. And with the form that I just made right now, I can finally start working on sculpting. So I'm basically gonna add clumps of clay to the base, if that makes sense. I'm just rolling up, imagining where, like, okay, the bone's gonna be here, so that means the muscle's gonna have to connect here and here and here, and just using my own imagination to basically build up the form to better look like Godzilla. One thing that I should have done, looking back now, is used a lot more reference photos, because at first I wanted to make my own Godzilla, and then I started leaning more for Godzilla 2000, because I grew up with that Godzilla the most, and loved it the most. But I really liked how the legs come out, and so the chest and so on, but like, I know it could be better if you look at reference photos. Like, if you're really going towards like a certain iteration of Godzilla, of course you have to use, like, know what it looks like, but at the moment I'm just using my own head. I mean, like, yeah, there should be this and that, and I'll slowly just lump it up. At this part of the sculpting process, I'm not really worried about details or anything. I just want it to look like Godzilla. If you really squint your eyes and like just that's what you're aiming for at this stage, is squint your eyes and it looks like the thing you want it to look like, and you're good. And so I'm gonna start right here. I'm working on the tail because he has like segmented little doodads, and that's pretty easy. You just roll out a little thin piece of clay, slap it on there, and do that a few times, and you have the whole segmented tail. Other parts are a little more intuitive, like the head. So like you just kind of throw a blob of clay on there and poke it until you think it looks good enough. I noticed that he had like really big cheekbones and eyebrows, so that helps like establish his silhouette and make it look more like Godzilla than a random dinosaur. Then I'll add my own little hidden, I don't know how to describe it. This is just my own take on Godzilla. So I'm gonna keep working on the basic shape, I guess, forms of the creature himself, and make sure that I'm gonna have a lump wherever I need a lump, if that makes sense. And once that's done, I can start working on the spines, which I'm just gonna do by using a blob of clay, pinching some ends off with it to make a very loose silhouette of the spikes, and just throw it right on there. With that done, I could finally throw on some eyes, which I use by rolling up some pieces of clay, throwing in the oven, and hardening them, and suddenly I can slap them right in there. I'm going to do the same technique with the teeth, basically just roll up some little thin noodles of clay, pinch the ends, throw it in the oven so it hardens, and that way I can just throw it right in the mouth. This time I'm going to give Godzilla a bigger overbite by basically just doing only teeth coming downwards, if that makes sense. Okay, to sculpt Godzilla's scales, like I'm doing here, I'm just going to use basically two tools. One is this rounded stylus, kind of looks like something that starts with a P and ends with an S, and a smaller ball stylus. So what I'm going to do is basically break up the surface by squiggling. See, this takes no skill at all. All I want to do is like not have smoothness. Then I'll tap it a little. This will get like little indents and balls. It just makes the surface more rough and kind of gives it some personality. Then I'm going to move into the smaller stylus and basically squiggle and slowly start building out those little diamond scales that Godzilla kind of has. Oh, here. So, you know, make a little teardrop circle, connect it to another one, and another one. And because Godzilla is like such a messy creature, you could really it's very forgiving. You could just poke it anywhere and be like, yeah, that's a little bump or crevice. And just like that, it looks kind of like Godzilla scales. Anyways, I'll just do what I just said like 3 seconds ago, but faster, with a lot of caffeine and other methods. But basically, yeah, just scratch it until it's not smooth, and then you could start doing that teardrop pattern of just squiggling until it feels fine. You could get lazy in a few spots by just poking it with the end of the routed tool, and it'll give a nice texture. It really depends what style you want, because I've seen some people do like very exaggerated scales that are like very three-dimensional. Others just kind of ended at poking it. But for me, I'm gonna like meet halfway between sculpting each scale and poking it until it looks okay. But yeah, just do that for all of the body until you cover every square inch. For the spikes, I'm just gonna scratch in some details, literally by just running the tool over the edges and poking it more towards the base, and it'll kind of slowly blend into the body. And for the toenails, I'll just keep poking it until it blends into the body, and once I'm done texturing it, I could fully bake it, maybe burn it a little, and now I can start painting it. Which of course I start off with a very thick coat of black paint. And because it's Godzilla 2000, he's more green than classic charcoal gray. So I'm going to use a very dark shades of greens and slowly build it up to lighter and lighter shades of greens. For the toenails, I'm going to use, I think it's called burnt umber, if I'm remembering it right. And I'll just darken it up with some black to make the very first base coat, and slowly build it up like the other colors with lighter and lighter tones of it by adding white. This way I'll get like a nice, I don't know, more realism is the best way I could describe it. Like, everything's not a flat color, there's different shades of every color in your body. So same goes with sculptures, you want to kind of exaggerate it to make it feel more realistic. And I'm going to do that for all 10 of the nails, if I did my math right. Or, no, I guess it'd be 16, since Godzilla has 4 fingers and 5 thumbs, or 4 toenails. For the eyeballs, I'm just going to use a very bright yellow by mixing yellow with white. That way I got a nice base coat. I was staring at my toy right now for reference photos, and it's very hard to recreate the Godzilla 2000's eyes because they used very clear parts and so on, but I'm trying my best here. Looking back, I probably could make it a little more accurate by adding some gloss to it, but I don't have any gloss, so we'll just imagine it's shiny. For the teeth, I'm gonna paint it different than the toenails by using a base coat of red. I'm building it up with orange, then yellow, and then some white. That way it kind of looks more flesh-like and more gruesome. I don't know, I just like to have the teeth differentiated from the toenails too, like, so it doesn't look flat. And finally, for the spikes, I'm gonna mix up some watercolor violet with some acrylic silver, and that way when I brush it onto the spine, just slowly build up to more metallic purple. As you see, I'm taking my time with very thin coats and slowly build it up and more vibrant. If you just slap it on, it might not look right, so it's kind of better to take a slower approach to just build it up, because it's harder to take away paint than it is to add it. And finally, we're going to move on to the base, which I am going to throw a base coat of orange on it. I was almost going to say yellow. Brain's dying right now. And then some red, which I'm going to change by then by putting the red where the orange is and black where the red is, because it looks a little nicer. But with the paint job all done, it's finally finished, and you can look into the glamour shots. If you like this video any bit, please like and subscribe. I'm desperate for the attention and love, and possibly money. I'll even throw in my cat. Oh god, I'm hearing voices. Okay, goodbye. Hope you liked the video.